The next segment is something we all like to do, and that's shoot the basketball. Now there are three parts to shooting. You have your layup, you have your free throw, and then you have your jump shot, not including inside moves. We're not going to have a chance today to talk about inside moves, but we are going to talk about layups, free throw shooting, and how to shoot a correct jump shot. The first thing we want to cover will be layups. This is the most basic shot in basketball, yet most kids do not learn the correct way to shoot a layup, nor do they practice shooting layups. So we're going to talk about the correct way to shoot a layup. We're going to start off doing it without dribbling the basketball. So let's go to the court and we're going to talk about the correct way to shoot a layup. First thing we want to do is to start with 2 feet parallel. The next thing we want is to pick a point on the court that we should always take our final step when we shoot our layup, left or right hand. And that location will be somewhere in this area. Is where you want to take your last inside step when you shoot a right hand layup, or if you're shooting a left hand layup. You want to make sure you're not too close to the basket, where you're under the basket to where you cannot make a simple layup shot if you start from too close to the basket. First step, 2 feet parallel. Second step, make sure we point out a place on the court where we would take our final step with our inside leg. The correct way to teach a right hand layup is to take a step with your inside leg and shoot the basketball or dribble the basketball with your outside hand. So let's just repeat. Inside leg step, outside leg shot. It's like a string. Inside leg step, outside hand shot. The other part of shooting a layup is to make sure that your outside knee comes up to your chest. This will allow you to high jump and not broad jump. When you high jump shooting a layup, you get better extension, you have a better opportunity to make the shot. Let's go over that again. Inside leg, outside hand, outside knee up to chest, full extension. Inside leg, step, outside hand, shot, chest. So it's like a string. Let's watch the string, like a puppet string. Step, string. Step, string. Step, string. The next part of shooting a layup is making sure that you have 2 hands on the basketball. We don't want to shoot a basketball underhanded with 1 hand or even overhanded with 1 hand. We want to make sure that we always have 2 hands on the basketball. The hand you're shooting with goes behind the ball. The other hand goes on the side of the basketball, and you want to pick a target on the square that you're shooting your layup to. We like to teach top corner of the right hand square for a right hand layup, top corner of the left hand square for a left hand layup. Now let's go through the entire cycle of what I just talked about. Inside leg step, outside hand shot, outside knee to the chest, 2 hands on the basketball, putting the ball at the top corner of the right-handed square for a right-hand layup. I'm going to do a couple of layups so you can see. Inside leg, outside shot, top corner of the square. The other part that's very important when you shoot a layup is you must hold your extension. Watch how I hold my extension after the shot. It's similar to a jump shot or a free throw. Hold. Inside leg, step, outside hand shot, string action, top corner of the square, hold my shot. It is very important that you learn how to also use your left hand for a layup. Now this is a more difficult challenge for some people, but don't be afraid of your left hand, because when I was your age, 9, 10, 11, 12, I could not shoot a left hand layup. But with practice, I became pretty good with my left hand. So let's talk about the correct way to shoot a left hand layup. Everything is the same except you're going to reverse sides. Inside foot is what we like to teach. We don't like to say left hand layup, right foot, right hand layup, left foot. We always like to say go off your inside leg when you shoot a layup. Left hand layup, inside leg step, outside hand shot, outside knee to the chest, top corner of the left box on the backboard. Inside leg, outside hand, extension. Step, extension. Step, two hands on the ball, extension. Step, two hands on the ball, extension. Now I became proficient with my left hand by practice. I encourage you to do the same. Two additional points that I want to talk about. First of all, when you shoot a layup, you must maintain vision at all times. A lot of times when you're young and you dribble in for a layup, you dribble with your head down, and once you get to the point of shooting your layup, most kids raise their head and then they shoot their layup. What will happen in a ball game is someone will come into your path and you're going to charge that player. Or it could be a teammate open under the basket that you don't see because your head is down looking at the basketball. So when you shoot your layup, we're going to encourage you to keep your head with good vision. Eyes must have good vision. My eyes has good vision. They have good vision. Now I go in for my layup. Let's try that again. I must have good vision, dribble, vision, keeping my eyes on the basket and on the court, and then I shoot my layup. So when you're taking your one step, make sure you don't look down with your step. Make sure you maintain vision at all times, taking your step and shooting your layup. The other point I want to cover on layups, your angle is extremely important. Your layup angle should always be in this lane as opposed to on the outside of this box, which makes it more difficult to shoot a layup because my angle is not as good and I end up pushing my body out of bounds. So make sure when you're doing your layups that you maintain this lane, which will make it easier for you to come in with your dribble, take your step, and then shoot the correct layup. Let's make sure when we shoot our layup that we maintain a 45-degree angle. We want to make sure that we do not get too flat when we shoot our right or left hand layups, because what's going to happen in the ball game is from this angle, a defender is going to be allowed to push you under the basket, and it's going to be very difficult for you to make a layup or make a play. A 45-degree angle will allow you to, even if there's a defender on your hip, you can maintain a good angle to shoot your layup or to make a play. Angles are extremely important in basketball. They're crucial when you're shooting layups. Just like basketball players do not work on their layups as much as they should, there's also not a great focus placed on free throw shooting. Back to basics basketball, it's going to give you a couple of tips that can make you a better foul shooter. The first thing that's very important when you shoot a foul shot is your location. Location is very, very important. Here's what happens with a lot of younger kids when they shoot foul shots. They come to the foul line and they don't realize exactly where they're lined up. So the first foul shot, they'll put their foot right here, then they'll shoot their foul shot. For some reason, the second time when they get to that foul line, they'll make a little subtle change. Now they'll end up way back here because they're not paying attention to their location. Location is very important because it allows you to train your muscles to make sure you're shooting from the same location every time. That's why you have male and females that are 90% shooters, 80% shooters, because they understand the concept of location. The second part of location is make sure that your shot line is lined up with the middle of the basket. Now your shot line is just where the ball travels at the point you're about to shoot the basketball. Since I'm a right-handed player, And the way I was trained, my shot line is slightly to my right, and then I come up and shoot my shot. Some players' shot line is right in the center, right? They split their forehead and they shoot. Left-hand players, typically, they have shot lines that are on the left-hand side. But since my shot line is slightly right, what I want to do is to make sure that I find the center of that basket, which sometimes there's a nail on the court that will tell me where the center is. Occasionally, if I see a split in the court that's wider than other splits, I know that's the middle of the goal. In this case, there's a split, there's the middle. So I'm going to take my right foot, get my location correct, get my shot line correct. That way, the ball is guaranteed in most cases to travel straight because the shot line I have is lined up to the middle of the basket. The shot is going to travel pretty straight. We talked about location. That's the first important point. The second point I want to talk about is routine. Each foul shooter must have a consistent routine. Again, here's what happens when I watch most young kids play basketball. They start off shooting the basketball. Their routine is the first time they might dribble the ball twice, and they'll shoot the basketball. Then for some strange reason, the next time they come up to shoot, they'll take the basketball and they'll just shoot it. And then if they're fouled again, they'll take the basketball and they'll go. And then they shoot it. So remember, when you have an inconsistent routine, you're going to have an inconsistent foul shooting percentage. So let's talk about routine real quick. Your routine should be consistent, your routine should be short, and your routine should not be distracting. So let's get away. Some of you players, you go 1, 2, 3, you spin the ball, you take it behind your head, you put it behind your back, and then you go and you shoot your foul shot. That's too much going on. When there's a tight ball game, you have to make sure that it's very short and concise. So what I like to tell players, I don't like to give them their routine. Get your own routine. But what I like to do is I like to come to the line, get set up with my location. I get set, and then I shoot my foul shot. And that's consistent. I do that every time. I do it when I practice. I do it in the ball game. I do it all the time. The next part of free throw shooting is maintain your concentration. Once you get inside this area here, now you need to zoom in and concentrate on making the shot. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Relax, but concentrate. So first of all, I get my location. I get my routine. Then I concentrate. The fourth part of shooting your foul shots is your shooting technique, which is beef. It's balance, it's eye, it's elbow, and it's follow through. And let's go over that one more time. I get my location. I get my what? Routine. I concentrate. I have my balance, my eye. I get my elbow under the basketball, and I maintain my follow through. Let's try that again. I get my location. I get my routine. Concentrate, and then beef. I get my balance. I'm not going side to side. I'm not going back. I'm not going too much forward. I get my balance. Eye to the basket. Elbow under the ball at the point of shot. And then I make sure that I get my follow through. The final part of free throw shooting. This is crucial. You must practice. You must put as much time on your free throw shooting as you do any other part of your shot. The more you practice, the more confidence you will develop, and the better free throw shooter you will become. Shooting. How to shoot a jump shot. Now I'm just about 50, so I won't be shooting many jump shots today. But I'm going to teach you the proper technique for shooting the basketball. We're going to use what a lot of you all know as beef. B-E-E-F. That's a very simple way to learn how to shoot the basketball correctly. The first B is for balance. We're going to talk about how important balance is in shooting the basketball. And balance really starts with your legs. The most important part of your shot will be using your legs to shoot the basketball. When you use your legs to shoot, it helps to give you power and helps to give you more control and balance. Let me show you the difference that legs will make in your shot. Why don't you all rebound for me? A lot of us, when we shoot a basketball, we don't realize that the legs are the most important part of our shot. And we end up shooting the basketball just flat-footed from this position. And that's not good, because what happens is when you get tired in a ball game, you're going to rely on your legs for power. So I'm going to show you two shots. You tell me which one looks easier. Now the first shot I'm going to take, I'm going to have my legs just straight. I'm going to shoot the ball from here, which is a long way. I do not want you young people shooting the ball from out here. This is only for demonstration purposes only. Straight legs, using arms only. Oh, that looks difficult, didn't it? It felt difficult. Now watch what happens when I use my legs for this shot. Watch how much easier this shot will become when I use my legs to help generate power. Now the first part of beef is balance. We have to make sure that when we shoot a basketball, that our shoulders are pointed to the basket. Our hips are pointed to the basket. Our feet, they're not parallel. You still have a lead foot, you still have a back foot, but your feet are pointed where? To the basket. This will help me have good balance. So when I shoot a basketball, rebounders please, I want to make sure that my feet are not pointing in the opposite direction, my shoulders are not squared up in opposite directions, and now my hips are not shooting or squared up, and now my hips are not squared up in the right direction. So right now, my shot will probably go right into the stands unless I make the adjustment when I shoot the basketball, which I can do, but it makes it too difficult of a shot. But once I square my shoulders, once I square my hips, once I square my feet to the basket, now everything is in line for a better shot. So the first thing we want to talk about is balance. The second part of shooting is eye. We want to make sure that we get our eyes to the basket, good vision when we're shooting the basketball. So the second part of beef is eye. So we have what? First, balance. Now we have eye, getting our eyes to the basket. So now when I shoot a basketball, my total focus is right on that rim. I'm not looking at my parents in the stands. I'm not looking at the floor. I'm not looking at anything except total focus and concentration on the basket. The other part of balance is making sure that you keep your head in line and still. What happens with a lot of players is when they shoot a basketball, their head is either tilting back or it's tilting to the side, left or right. Watch my head when I shoot the basketball. Watch how still and quiet, we don't use the word quiet, my head is on my shot. So we have balance, we have eye, now we have elbow. Now here's a misconception about your elbow. A lot of coaches and players think that it's very important to have your elbow tucked into your body at all times. When we say elbow, what we're saying is at the point that I release the basketball, then my elbow should be under the ball. If you watch me shoot the ball, my elbow actually starts out a little bit, but when I come in for my shot at the point of release, now my elbow is under the basketball. It forms a perfect L. And that's where elbow comes into place. It's not necessarily that I keep my arm tucked in to where I'm uncomfortable shooting and then come in here and shoot the basketball. That's not natural. The natural position is for my elbow to be slightly out, but now when I come up for my shot, now my elbow is under the basketball. The other part of shooting an elbow is that we want to have what? Big hands. We talked about big hands, strong hands when you shoot the basketball. So I want to make sure that your hand is right in the center, well balanced on that basketball like so. These fingers are very, very important. This will be the last finger that will touch the ball when it's shot. So you got to have big, strong, wide fingers on your shot. You want to form a V with these two thumbs. Smaller kids, your V might be over here. But we don't want to have one hand too far forward, because now we don't have our V. Or if you have your hands too far down, you don't have a good V, nor do you have good balance. A perfect V will be now my left hand or my off hand. My balanced hand will be right here. Now we have the V. That's very important when you shoot a basketball. Now the next part of the elbow is making sure that at the point you shoot, that your wrist, you have big hands, you have a little bit of space. For you older kids, you have a little bit of space, no palm, older kids. Now for the younger kids, if you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 maybe, you don't have big hands, you might not be able to have space in between there. But it's very important that you shoot the basketball with big hands. We do not want you developing the habit of shooting the basketball like I see a lot of kids do with their fingertips. You don't shoot a basketball with your fingertips. You use your hands, big strong hands, but no palm. At the point you're ready to shoot the basketball, you must cock that wrist. You cannot shoot the basketball from this position. You must cock your wrist, big hands. You have your balanced hand on the side. I have my V formed, cock my wrist, and now I just take the basketball and I push it up and out when I shoot the basketball. So let's summarize the elbow part, because there's quite a bit to it. First of all, elbow under the basketball at the point of release. Form your L at the point of release. You must form a V with your two thumbs. You must have big, strong hands. Your shooting hand, and now this is the hand that balances the basketball. It's not there to hold the ball. It's not there to guide the ball. It's there to balance the basketball. It should not come into play when you shoot the basketball. The last and most important part of your shot is your follow through. Now, a lot of times people ask, hey coach, what do I shoot for? Do I aim for the back of the basket? Do I aim for the front of the basket? Do I aim for over the basket? I don't have an answer for you. I always tell coaches that ask me that question, and players, whatever you decide to shoot for, whether it's the back of the rim, whether it's the front of the rim or over the front of the rim, just make sure you're consistent. What I like to teach is shooting the basketball right over into the middle of the rim to help me get my follow through consistent. So when I shoot a basketball, I take and I visualize that I'm putting my hand inside the middle of the basket. And that helps me create a better follow through and better rotation. Now we're going to show you what happens with the concept that I talked about, where you take your hand and you put it inside the rim, inside the middle of the goal, and you hold that follow through for 1 second. We like to say, take a photograph with your follow through. You notice also that my opposite hand stays up after I shoot the basketball. A lot of you all drop that hand too early. But if you watch most shooters, most good shooters, that hand will stay up past your follow through. Up, over, right in the center of the basket, holding the follow through. That's the key to effective shooting. So let's summarize beef. B, balance. E, eye. E, elbow. And most important, F is a follow through. We've talked about shooting. We talked about beef. Now I want to give you some simple things to remember about shooting. First of all, practice your shot like you're in a basketball game. You must have the same intensity, the same concentration that you have in the game. Number 2, try to shoot game shots. Try to shoot shots that you know you're going to take in the ball game. This will help increase your shooting percentage. Number 3, start in close in your shooting and then work your way out. Never come into a gymnasium and start tossing up 3-point shots. You want to start shooting layups, 5-foot shots, 10-foot shots, 15-foot shots, and as you get older and stronger, work your way out. Next point I want to make, do not take long three-point shots if you're not a three-point shot shooter. It's a waste of your time, and it's not something that's going to help you become a better basketball player. The last point is make sure you practice from one spot and then work your way to another spot. Don't hop around when you shoot your jump shots. Start in one spot, make 10 shots, go to your next spot, make 10 shots, and then just continue. You'll see your percentages and your consistency improve with those points.